Hi everybody, welcome to Facebook Live at PlantPure. I'm Kim Campbell, and tonight I'm making a really fun recipe. I'm excited about it. It's called baked spring rolls. We tend to think of spring rolls as kind of raw because we're using rice wrappers. Well, tonight we're going to use four different wrappers actually, and it's more about the technique about how to do that. And then I'm going to make a filling, which is more or less a stir fry. So come on over here, Laura, and I'll show them what we're going to do real quick. I have cabbage all cut up finely, and I julienned carrots, but you can shred carrots. You don't have to julienne them. I just did. And then green onions. That's it. If you want to add something more to your stir fry, you can. But I'm going to put these all in my pan and saute them, and I'm going to steam saute them with water. I have water ready to go there. You can use vegetable broth as well. But I have a surprise tonight because Nelson is going to join us, and he's going to talk about some exciting things that are happening at PlantPure. So while he's talking to you, I'm going to be over here sauteing, but Laura's going to be focused more on Nelson.
Hey there. So yeah, I do have some exciting news to share. Got back from a trip last week to New York City and just had an amazing time. Went up there to visit with Somos Community Care. Somos Community Care is a network of over 2,500 physicians working in 4 of the 5 boroughs of New York City, focusing on Medicaid patients. So they're working in many of the underserved neighborhoods of New York. And they're just a physician network. They're not a healthcare system, so they don't have hospitals or fancy clinics. They're just a network of doctors who are committed to community medicine in those areas of New York. When I was there, I had a chance to speak at their General Assembly. It was a very exciting day to see and meet all of those good folks. And I also had a chance to meet with the founder of Somos. His name is Dr. Ramon Talaj, a very, very impressive person, very socially conscious. But I was up there because we are going to be partnering with Somos to do something really special. We're going to be launching our community campaign model that we've worked so hard to develop the past few years up there in New York, beginning in the Washington Heights area, which is the northern tip of Manhattan. And once we get some traction with this model, then what we will do is we will begin to scale this model across the country. And so, again, we've been working on this for a long time. This model includes food, education, our pods, a new web-based social network that we're developing, and most importantly, in New York and also in other areas that we scale to, this model will be supported by physicians. So this is a clinically based model. And the reason that we can do this with Somos is because Somos is a physician network. So they don't have expensive hospitals and all kinds of infrastructure that they're maintaining. A lot of health systems carry that infrastructure, and so they rely on a steady stream of sick patients to pay the bill. That's not true with Somos. Somos is a network of independent physicians. They're proactively involved in the community, delivering health care to people who really need it. So we're really excited about this, and I want to encourage all of you, if you have not done so, to subscribe to our newsletter at healingamericatogether.com, because we're going to have a lot of updates this year, and if you subscribe to that newsletter, you will get those updates. The very last thing I'll mention is we have a short video that we produced that we're excited about. It was selected as a finalist in a film competition being held by ShareCare and the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. So it's a finalist, and the videos that win are being voted on. They'll be decided by the public. So if you want to check it out, I think we have a link here with this Facebook Live session, so you can click on that and then go and cast your vote. And also this video will show some highlights of our Healing America campaign journey to date, including some footage relating to what we're doing in New York. So anyways, thank you very much, and I'll step aside and let Kim get back to the food.
You're not going to roll the spring wrappers?
I'm going to eat them. I'm going to eat them,
yeah.
That's for sure.
Here's a question from Mike Coffey. Any news on the frozen line getting to more stores than Publix?
We just got a relationship with Harris Teeter. So this happened about a week ago, so we're going to be in Harris Teeter stores, and we're in discussions with other retailers as well. So because of Harris Teeter, we're now up to well over 1,000 stores. I think I don't know what the exact count is, maybe 1,200 or so stores. So we're really excited about that, and as many of you know, that's important to us because that's how we sustain what we do. We very much require that kind of financial support. So for all of you who can buy our meals, we appreciate that support.
And there's new meals coming out. Did you talk about that?
I didn't, yeah. So we're also working on some new meals to extend our line. So we have 5 breakfast products that we're going to be introducing into the market here in the next few months. So we're quite excited about that. So stay tuned for that. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, those are my updates. So enjoy these spring rolls. They're absolutely phenomenal. These are really, really good. These are delicious. Yeah.
Thanks, Nelson.
Yeah.
All right, so we've sauteed. Laura, you can bring it over. This is my induction stove, so hopefully it won't make a lot of noise. But all I did was steam it down and saute it down a little bit. I didn't use any oil. You don't need to use any oil at all. And then I have the stir fry sauce. So the stir fry sauce, it's in the link, it's in the recipe link, but it has soy sauce. Well, I use tamari sauce, maple syrup. It has lime juice. It has vinegar. It has sriracha. It's all in there. And then make sure that you use cornstarch. Cornstarch will thicken it and make it glossy, and it'll help the stir fries stick together because you really want it to stick together. You'll see when we start making the wrappers. If it's really wet and messy, you'll end up with a wet and messy spring roll. So I'm going to turn these up a little bit so it thickens. And you can see I put 3 teaspoons of cornstarch in there. You can see as soon as it starts to bubble, that's about as thick as it's going to get. If you want it thicker, you can maybe put 3½ teaspoons to 4. And at this point, you can put anything in this you want. You can put some noodles in there, rice noodles. You can put soy curls in there.
Put broccoli in there.
You can put broccoli.
Here's a question. Can you use arrowroot if you don't have cornstarch?
Yeah. And you can use arrowroot. I haven't really worked with arrowroot a lot, but I imagine you could, just like you could use tapioca starch. Any kind of thickener would be fine. So I'm going to take it over here. So our stir fry is done. And in the recipe, I have noodles going in here, but my noodles aren't quite done, and so I'm not going to put them in there. But this is the part of the spring rolls that's tricky, and I've done a lot of experimenting with it. So there's 2 ways. You can do a pastry roll, which is spring rolls are made with, typically if you go to a restaurant, they're wrapped up in pastry roll and then they're deep fried, or they're wrapped up in an egg roll and they're deep fried. But what I do is I don't fry them, I bake them, and then I use brown rice spring roll wrappers. You can use those, but we're also going to use the spring roll pastry, the pastry rolls. I'm getting tongue-tied. I knew I was going to do this because there's so many combinations here. So we'll start with one and then we'll talk about it. And I'm going to start with the rice wrappers. This is what we always like to do. I love using the brown rice wrappers. And you can put salad in them and eat them fresh. You don't have to cook them, but tonight we're cooking them. So brown rice wrappers they kind of have a little bit of a tan hue, and these look like plastic. I remember about 10 years ago, I had no idea what these were, and now I love them. I keep them in my pantry. You can also get white rice wrappers as well. These are a different shape. I got these at the Asian store, but I got these at Walmart. Believe it or not, our Walmart carries just about everything. And then what you want to do is you want to have a tea towel, and I got mine kind of wet because I'm going to wrap it on the tea towel. The tea towel will help add moisture to it, and then it will help hold it stable so it'll roll up nicely. So before I do this, I do have Butler soy curls, partly because I just wanted to show you what Butler soy curls are. They're really neat. If you're trying to convince your carnivore friends to eat plant-based, introduce these because it has a really nice texture. They're made with 100% soy curls, or soybeans, non-GMO and all that good stuff. And you soak them. So dry, they look like this. Just like a cracker almost. But when you soak them, and I let these soak, they have the consistency of chicken. So I'm going to use those in my rice wrappers today. Soy curls are great. You can use them to make chicken salad. You can put them in stir fries. They're a lot of fun. So this is already starting to curl because I set it down on moisture, and that's what it does. But here's the trick. When you're soaking these, don't put these in here for more than 10 to 15 seconds. And you're gonna wanna leave them in there longer because they're still gonna feel a little bit stiff, but that's okay because they're easier to work with. If you leave them in there until they're really soft like a noodle, it's gonna be harder to work with. So that's probably long enough. And they're a little bit delicate, so they can fall apart on the edges. But you can see they're still pretty stiff. So I'm gonna put it down on that sheet, and then...
And it's warm water.
It's warm water, yep. When you start with this, less is always better, because if you're first learning how to wrap these, it's easier to learn when you have a small amount. So I'll start with a small amount. And then you can put a soy curl right on top of that. Make sure you get one in there. And then what I do is I wrap it over this way, and then I wrap it just like a burrito, but I make sure it kind of comes down at an angle, and then pull it up and just keep going. And if it breaks here, it's okay because you're going to keep wrapping it. And it looks just like that. And then I have a parchment lined cookie sheet, and I'm just going to lay it down on top of that. So we'll do it one more time. This one isn't broken at all, so put it in the water. And I use just a pie plate. You can even get a nice big square pan to put it on. And sometimes you can be soaking one while you're working on the other. I don't usually do that because I forget, and then I end up with something that's really noodly and hard to work with. That's probably as good as I want it. And it's still gonna keep on getting soft, so we'll add a little bit more. I kind of know what I can handle. That's about, I don't know, 2 or 3 tablespoons. And then put it this way, just like a burrito. Wrap it up. Most of these brown rice wrappers come round at the mainstream grocery stores, but if you go to an Asian store, they'll come square, which we'll do a square one too. I'll throw that in there. These, I think, get softer quicker, and they're clear. These are really pretty if you're making a fresh wrapper and you want to put down a piece of lettuce, and then on top of the lettuce you put some basil or some herbs, add some avocados, and then maybe red pepper. Make it really pretty and roll it up. I used to do that for the kids when they were younger for parties, and felt really fancy, but it really wasn't hard to do. So this one I'm going to start at the corner. You could also put baked tofu in these too. And then corner over just like that. And then the burrito. And it feels a little awkward when you're first doing it, but once you start wrapping them, it goes really quickly. And that's it. Ta-da. So the next wrapper, these are probably a little more controversial, but I'm going to present them anyways because they're fun. These are egg roll wrappers, but they're vegan. There's no eggs in them. They use them for egg rolls. They're a little bit thicker, and they're pastry wrappers. And you can see how this might be too stuck together.
Also, where do you get the soy curls is a question.
I buy mine on Amazon, or you can go to Butler Company and order them directly, and they're always nice. Sometimes they put little extra things in your package, so like little seasonings and products that they're developing, so that's fun. I would go directly to Butler.
And one more thing. Somebody said since you're going to bake them, you're not worried about getting them dried out after you roll it. Just asking because when I make the cold spring rolls, I keep them moist and covered.
Right. When you make them fresh, you want to keep them moist, so sometimes you wrap them in a paper towel or a towel so they don't dry out. But when you're baking them, they're going to get dried out and they're going to get kind of crispy, and I'll show you the final results because I made some earlier. You want them to get crispy and dried out. They still are going to be more chewy. But this is the Frida's brand that I got at Walmart. That's the brand. And there's no added oils in this. There's no eggs. It's vegan.
And soy pills don't have sodium, right?
Nope. Only ingredient
Just
in it
soybeans,
is just
that's all.
soybeans, right? So I'm going to do this one I'm going to start in the corner. And I am going to put a little less in these because there's not as much room inside them. And the Fritas are thicker because they're supposed to be for egg rolls. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple soy curls in there and then roll it over just like that. And the moisture will make it stick. You don't even need to make it stick with water because it'll stick naturally just from all the stir fry. And then wrap it up and bake it. So the other one that I went to the Asian market and got is, these are spring roll pastries, and they're thinner than the egg roll. I'm going to cut it open so you can see it. These do have a little bit of oil in them, and it's such a small amount that in the nutrition facts it doesn't show up because it's less than 1/2 gram. But I wanted to present you with all the options. If you're having a party and you want to show off and do something fancy, I wanted to show you what's out there. I always do the rice wrappers, but these are thin. Try to pull them apart. You can see how really, really thin. You can almost see through it. And they're a little more fragile. And these have less calories in them than the egg rolls because they're thinner.
What's the base flour in the vegan egg rolls?
Wheat flour. And it's not whole wheat flour, so that's why I'm presenting these to you, but we tend to use the rice wrappers. But if you're having a Super Bowl party and there's a lot of people coming and you want to impress your friends, especially people who aren't plant-based, this is something that might be kind of fun finger food. So fill this one. These are really fragile, the spring rolls. Put it in, put the soy curl in there, wrap it over. You can see the moisture is kind of weeping through. And then you can see they're just a lot more fragile to work with. And there you have it. So these are the spring rolls, these are the egg rolls.
So the rice wrap would be best for gluten-free people?
Yeah, if you're gluten-free, that's why I wanted to talk about the rice wraps. And I will tell you that the brown rice wraps hold together a little bit better, they're easier to work with, and that would be my recommendation. So the finished product looks like this.
And can you roll them ahead of time and bake them later?
You know, it's a good question. I don't know. I think you definitely can, I think, with the pastry rolls, but I'm not sure about the rice wrappers, how that will work. But, so these two are the spring roll pastry wrappers, or these three. They didn't brown up as much. These are the Frida's vegan egg roll wrappers. They're thicker, crispier. And then down here are the white rice wrappers. And they're kind of almost, what would you say, Laura, chewy?
Yeah, it's like a noodle.
Yeah, and you can put them back in the oven and reheat and they'll get a little bit more crispy. These hold together really nicely. I think that you probably could store these and then the next day warm them up in the oven and bake them. But these are the brown rice wrappers. So this is the one that gets my approval. It's the one I like. I like the flavor, I like the texture, everything about it. So, any questions?
Mm-mm.
So it's fun to have a dipping sauce, so I'll just do the sauce real quick.
Oh, can you air fry them? I've air fried them.
Yes,
Pretty well.
you can air fry them. And I didn't tonight because They make a mess in my air fryer. Sometimes these will kind of leak out a little bit, so the stir fry mixture gets bubbly and sticks to the pan. I do have, I got one of these for my air fryer. You can put parchment paper in there. It kind of helps out a little bit. But yeah, it does work nicely in the air fryer, but you don't need an air fryer. If you put it in the oven at about 400, 425, it depends on your oven, and then bake it for 15 minutes. Go in there, look, see what's happening, because every oven's different, and then decide whether or not it needs 5 or 10 more minutes. Mine was 400 for about 18 minutes, but my oven's a pretty strong oven. So we're gonna make a peanut sauce next. I have a 1/4 cup of peanuts. I have a little bit of maple syrup, a teaspoon or 2.
Aunt Karen's on.
Hi, Aunt Karen, my sister. Lime juice, about a tablespoon of lime juice, a couple tablespoons of tamari, tamari sauce or soy sauce. And again, you can cut back on that if you want. I added a lot of sriracha to mine because I like mine really spicy. There is a recipe in the PlantPure kitchen cookbook for hoisin sauce. And this is not in the recipe, but it's ginger, and I just love ginger.
Where do you find the brown rice wrappers?
I got mine at Walmart. Most mainstream grocery stores have wrappers, but the brown rice wrapper, sometimes they're a little bit hard to find. The Asian market did not have it, so you just kind of have to, it's trial and error. You could also order them if you really like them. Order them and you can make fresh summer rolls or cook them and make spring rolls. And there's the peanut sauce. I'm gonna add a little more water because it's very, very thick. So, all right, that's a wrap. If we don't have any more questions, I'll let you go so you can cook this for Super Bowl Sunday or for your family. We're gonna make a meal of it tonight. So thanks for joining us.
One more question. If you don't want to use nuts, what sauce can you use?
I would use a
no-fat sauce.
Yeah, my hoisin sauce has peanut butter in it. There are a lot of them on the market that you can buy. You can search through the cookbooks and see. You could use any kind. You could use a sweet and sour sauce.
Powdered peanut butter doesn't have any fat either.
You could use PB2, right, if you want to do that. But remember, you're not using a lot of it. You're just going to use a little of it. And I ate these without a sauce at all, and they were really good. So you don't really necessarily have to have a sauce. I wanted to tell people too that our Facebook Lives, we always put them in our YouTube channel at PlantPure, as long as they're not sideways and goofy looking. We tend to drop them in there. So if you can't watch them live, you can watch them later. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week. Have a great evening.